Coronation Street tease that the air over Weatherfield crackles with anticipation as familiar faces re-emerge into the lives of those who thought they'd moved on. In the quiet of Underworld, sunlight filters through dusty windows onto the thrum of sewing machines and fabric piled in neat stacks. It is here that Daniel Osborne, hands resting on the silky edge of a new bridal veil, allows his mind to drift back to the whirlwind of events that have led him to this moment. He remembers the averted gazes, the furtive phone calls, and the hush of Daisy's laughter echoing in corridors he thought he'd left behind for good. And yet, now, as the streets hum with the news of Bethany Platt's unexpected return, Daniel's heart threatens to fracture under the weight of two women who have claimed pieces of it. Bethany's departure had been abrupt. Caught between teenage impulsiveness and a desperate need to forge her own path, she slipped away from the cobbles, just as Daniel believed he was finally free. But secrets have a way of finding their keepers, and whispers in the Rover suggest that she has come back, determined to reclaim more than memories. Daniel first hears the news from Nick Tilsley outside the cafe, mid-argument over a misplaced delivery. Nick's eyes widen when he spots Daniel and blurts it out, "Bethany's back in town. Just turned up at number 1. The words hang between them, heavy with unspoken possibility. Only weeks earlier, Daisy Midgley had burst into Daniel's life like a summer storm, all warmth and laughter and reckless charm. Their fling, born of late-night confidences and shared cocktails, had ignited in Daniel a happiness he'd never expected to find again. In Daisy's embrace, he discovered a sanctuary from the guilt that had dogged him since his split from Bethany. And when he asked Daisy to be his fiancée, the question, asked on a rooftop under a canvas of twinkling lights, felt right in a way he hadn't known existed. Daisy's yes had echoed through his soul, sealing the promise of a future where laughter reigned and heartbreak was a foreign concept. But as Bethany re-enters the picture, the foundations Daniel thought steady begin to tremble. She comes on an unremarkable Wednesday, the sort that carries no heralding trumpets. He sees her first on the corner of Victoria Street, arms wrapped around a battered suitcase, hair tousled by the breeze, and a resolve hardened in her grey-green eyes. The recognition is instantaneous, jolting him out of the half-world he'd been occupying. Bethany's heels click against the pavement as she strides forward, her gait measured and confident, but her shoulders betray a trace of weariness. The city she fled feels narrower on her return, but her steps do not falter. Daniel finds himself following, unable to look away. He watches as she pauses by the florist's window, a bouquet of lilies and forget-me-nots reflecting in the glass. The image is fractured, as though he is seeing her in shards, Bethany of the past and the woman before him in a single, disconcerting moment. His throat dries, and he clears it, stepping into the floral shop. "Can I help you?" the florist asks, bright-eyed. Bethany looks up, surprise flashing across her face. Then recognition warms her features. "Yes," she says, her voice steady. "I need these delivered to number 1 Coronation Street, for Daniel." He watches from the doorway as she scribbles an address, her handwriting neat and deliberate. When she turns to go, he steps forward, voice barely more than a whisper. "Bethany." The pause that follows feels like an eternity. She studies him, as though weighing the changes time has wrought. "Daniel," she replies, voice soft but unwavering. Their conversation is cautious at first. A dance of pleasantries and veiled questions. She asks after his work at Underworld, he inquires about her plans. Neither mentions Daisy. Both avoid the raw nerve of what their reunion truly means. When at last she reveals that she's back for good, taking up residence with Mary and Sean, Daniel feels the world tilt. The thought of Bethany living just steps away from his front door sends a thrill through him, tempered by dread. That evening, Daniel returns to the flat he shares with Daisy, the image of Bethany's determined silhouette seared into his mind. He finds Daisy arranging photos on their mantel, snapshots of happy moments in Manchester, their first holiday together, late-night bar selfies, candid embraces after long days. She turns at his entry, face lighting up. "I got us tickets for the National Heritage Weekend," she says. "I thought it'd be fun." He manages a smile, but inside, thunder roars. How can he share laughter with Daisy when Bethany's return unspools a ball of emotions he barely comprehends? He nods, masking the turmoil. Sounds amazing. The weekend passes in a blur of museums and long walks by the canal, but Daniel feels distant, as if watching through a pane of glass. Daisy is bright and vivacious, recounting the history of each landmark with childlike enthusiasm. Daniel laughs in the right places, asks the right questions, but his eyes keep drifting to the horizon, as if searching for a figure standing at the edge of his mind. When Monday arrives, Daisy glows with happiness. She had pictured their future in sunlit rooms and shared adventures. She throws her arms around Daniel as they step off the tram. "I love you," she whispers. And Daniel's heart clenches. He loves her. He truly does. But Bethany. That night, unable to sleep, Daniel slips out for a solitary walk along the canal. The moonlight dances on the water, and the cool air clears his thoughts. He thinks of Daisy's laughter, bright and free, and of Bethany's determined gaze, steadfast in its unspoken declaration. Two loves, each pulling at his heart. He knows that, soon, a choice must be made, and one of them will be left with a wound too deep to heal. In the days that follow, Bethany and Daniel fall into an awkward rhythm. She visits Underworld under the guise of collecting flowers for a school reunion, but lingers to watch him work. She offers to help, and he finds himself showing her the intricacies of the machines, the way the foot pedal responds to pressure, as though sharing a secret language they once spoke fluently. Their hands brush as they steady a roll of tulle, and the spark between them ignites, a reminder of nights spent sharing secrets and futures once dreamed together. Daisy senses the shift. She arrives at the flat one evening to find Bethany's bright bouquet on their coffee table. Her smile falters when she sees Daniel's gaze lingering on the blooms. "Bethany sent these," he says quietly. Daisy picks up the vase, breath-catching. "She did." He nods, words tumbling over each other. "I thought you should know." Daisy studies the lilies, pressing fingertips to their petals. "Do you still have feelings for her?" she asks, voice barely audible. Daniel hesitates, heartbeat thundering in his chest. He wants to lie, to say she's nothing but a memory. But the truth, when he speaks it, bursts forth. "I don't know." The confession shatters the calm. Daisy's eyes brim with tears, the joy that once lit her face replaced by hurt and betrayal. She turns away, cheeks flushed, and Daniel reaches for her, but she steps back. "I need time," she whispers, before disappearing into their bedroom. Left alone, Daniel sinks onto the sofa, guilt tearing at him. He picks up his phone, scrolling through photos, laughing faces, tender moments, promises made under sunlit skies. And yet, none of those captures the ache in his chest, the longing for something he can no longer name. The next day at the factory, Daniel confronts Bethany. She stands by a bench, fabric draped at her feet. "I know what's happening," he says, voice low. "I know I hurt her." Bethany's eyes flicker with regret, and she brushes a strand of hair behind her ear. "I didn't come back to hurt anyone," she replies. "I came back because I had to. Because leaving left too many questions unanswered, and because I love you." Her words hang heavy between them. Daniel feels his resolve crumble, swept away by the tide of her confession. He wants to hate her for the chaos she's sown, but instead he feels only the old ache, the one that had tormented him in sleepless nights when memories of her haunted his dreams. He steps forward, closing the gap, but she raises a hand. "Not here," she breathes. They part, each carrying the weight of what has been rekindled. Daniel's shift ends, and as he steps out into the cool evening, he realizes the inevitable: he must choose. To stay with Daisy and honor the life they've begun to build, or to follow the stirring call of his heart back to Bethany, whose return has awakened something in him that cannot be silenced. Back at the flat, Daniel finds Daisy packing a bag. Her eyes are red-rimmed, determination shining through the hurt. "I'm going to stay with Amy for a few days," she says. "I need space to think." He watches her, pain twisting in his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispers. But she's already gone, leaving him alone with the echo of her footsteps and the ghost of Bethany's promise. That night, Daniel walks the empty streets, the glow of street lamps painting shadows on the walls. He breathes in the night air, wrestling with the choice that looms ahead. He thinks of Daisy's fierce loyalty, the way her laughter filled rooms, the warmth of her hand in his. And he thinks of Bethany's quiet strength, the intelligence in her eyes, the way his heart raced at the sound of her name. By dawn, he knows what he must do. But with either choice, he will leave someone he loves behind, and someone he loves all the more for the pain that binds them. As the sun rises over the rooftops of Weatherfield, Daniel resolves to speak the truth, no matter the cost. For in the harsh light of day, only honesty can guide him, and only courage can save him. In the pale light of early morning, Daniel wakes with a pounding heart. The flat is silent, Daisy gone, Bethany still asleep in the guest room, and the air heavy with the echo of decisions unmade. He dresses slowly, each movement deliberate, as though he's expecting confrontation at every turn. Outside, the cobbles glimmer with dew, and a lone sparrow flits across the street, unconcerned by the turmoil that has rent the lives of those within number 1. By breakfast time, Bethany is seated at the table, a cup of tea cradled between her hands. The bruise of yesterday's argument still shadows her eyes, but her posture is steady, determined. Daniel slides into the chair opposite, and they sit in companionable silence for a moment, listening to the distant rumble of Underworld's machines mixing with the clink of china from Rita's tea room. Finally, he clears his throat. "I need to know," he begins, voice cracking, "if you truly see a future with me here, or if coming back was about closure." Bethany's gaze meets his, unwavering. "It's both," she replies. "I came back for answers, but I won't lie, I want us. Not just a memory, but a real life together." She reaches out, fingertips brushing his knuckles. "But only if you want the same." Daniel draws in a shaky breath, guilt and longing warring in his chest. He thinks of Daisy's laughter, bright and fierce, echoing in the corners of this flat. Of Bethany's quiet resolve and the way her vulnerability trembling beneath that strength has always called to him. "I do," he whispers, "but I don't want to hurt her." Bethany nods, sadness flickering in her eyes. "I know. But Daisy's part of your life now, just as I was part of it before. It can't be both ways forever." By midday, Daniel has left Bethany at the flat and makes his way to the Rover's return. Inside, the familiar scent of lager and pie is a balm to his frayed nerves. Daisy sits alone in a corner booth, arms crossed, eyes red. When she sees him, her shoulders stiffen. He approaches, unsure of how to bridge the chasm between them. "Daisy," he says softly. She doesn't speak, inviting him to sit. He sits. A hush falls. Finally, Daisy lays a hand on his. "I'm scared," she admits. "I thought we were building something, and then she came back." Her voice cracks. "I still love you, Daniel, but I can't share you." Daniel's throat tightens. "You don't have to share me," he says. "I want to be with you." "But do you?" she challenges, voice trembling. "Or are you just afraid of being alone?" Tears spill down her cheeks. "I found out I'm pregnant." I didn't tell you before because I thought it might change things in your eyes. She pulls out an envelope and places it on the table. These are the test results. Daniel's breath hitches. Suddenly everything shifts. He didn't know, couldn't know, that Daisy carried his child. The room tilts, and he clutches at the edge of the table. Outside, a car horn blares faintly. Inside, his future spins like a top unmoored. Daisy stands and turns away. I need air, she whispers before slipping out through the door. Daniel remains seated, head in hands, the weight of two lives pressing down on him. Over the next week, Weatherfield watches for signs of resolution. In Underworld, whispers fly. Has Daniel chosen Bethany, or will Daisy's baby keep him anchored? Mary and Sean fuss over Bethany, urging patience. Amy offers Daisy a shoulder to cry on. But none know what Daniel decides. One evening, Daniel finds himself outside the canal, staring across the water at the glint of street lamps. He hears footsteps and turns to see Daisy approaching, arms wrapped around a cardigan. Behind her walks Bethany, hesitant but determined to be present. Daniel's heart stutters. Daisy stops 2 paces away, Bethany lingers another 2 paces behind. It's a tableau of longing and dread. Daniel steps forward. Thank you both for coming, he says, voice steady despite the turmoil within. They stand in the hush, the trolley bus rumble receding into the night. Daniel exhales. I've thought long and hard this week, he begins. And I love you both. Daisy, I love you, and I want to be there for you and our baby. Bethany, I love you, and your return has reminded me of all I risked when I let you go. Daisy's lip trembles, Bethany's eyes glisten. Daniel steadies himself. But sometimes love isn't enough. Right now, I need stability. I need to do right by Daisy and the child she's carrying. That means, he pauses, pressing fingertips to his temples. That means I have to be with Daisy. Bethany nods once, resolute. I understand, she says softly. I always knew this would be hard. She forces a small, sad smile. I'll leave town again, discreetly. I'll make sure there are no complications. You'll have your peace. Daisy's shoulders sag with relief and heartbreak entwined. She steps forward and takes Daniel's hand, while Bethany steps back. For a moment, the 3 of them form a fragile circle of shared history and divergent futures. Then, Bethany turns and walks away into the night, suitcase in hand. Daniel watches until she disappears around the bend, the sound of her heels swallowed by silence. He squeezes Daisy's hand, pulling her close, and she leans into him, weeping softly. In the weeks that follow, preparing for fatherhood cements Daniel's commitment. He accompanies Daisy to medical appointments, learns about prenatal classes, and paints the nursery a soft cream at Bethany's suggestion, on interior design, an olive branch she left behind in the flat. Underworld colleagues rally around them, women bring home cooked meals, men offer baby-proofing tips. The flat becomes a hive of preparation, and Daniel finds purpose in every crib assembled, every safety latch tested. Daisy glows in ways Daniel hadn't anticipated. Her laughter returns, richer and more cautious, tinted by the responsibility of motherhood. She runs her hand over her belly as they stroll past the canal, weaving dreams of their child's first steps, first words. Daniel watches her, his heart full and breaking for the sacrifice Bethany made, for the promise of new life blossoming between them. But midwinter in Weatherfield brings challenges. Tensions rise when Daniel receives an unexpected letter. Bethany has enrolled in a university course, just outside the city. She writes of her hopes, her voice enthusiastic yet tinged with sorrow that she couldn't stay. Daniel shows it to Daisy, whose frown speaks of unease. She's building her life, Daisy says. Just like I am, with our family. Then, on a crisp December morning, Daisy collapses at work. Panic grips Daniel as he rushes her to the hospital. The ultrasound reveals a complication. Their baby's heartbeat is weak. Weight crushes Daniel's chest. For 3 sleepless days, he sits by Daisy's side, rubbing her back as she battles tears. Only when the technician confirms that the baby is stable, though premature, does relief wash through him, leaving him hollow and exhausted. In the neonatal ward, they see their daughter for the first time, tiny, fragile, hooked to monitors, her breaths quiet and swift. Daisy weeps. Daniel holds her close, promising protection. In that incubator's glow, he knows that his choice to stay, as painful as it was to hurt Bethany, was right. His life's purpose has crystallized, to safeguard this new spark of love. As the new year dawns, Daniel and Daisy push the stroller through the frosted streets of Weatherfield, their daughter wrapped in blankets. They pause at the corner where Bethany once handed over that bouquet of lilies, now barren in winter. Daniel closes his eyes and breathes in the crisp air, thinking of Bethany studying for her exams, forging a future of her own. He sends her a text, "Thank you for everything. I hope you find happiness." Daisy slips her hand into his. "She will," she says softly. "And so will we." The baby gurgles, reaching for Daniel's finger. In her tiny grip, he feels the gravity of his choice, and the boundless promise of what lies ahead. Around them, Weatherfield stirs to life. The Rover's neon sign flickers on, the hum of Underworld drifts down the street, life pulses through the cobbles. Daniel looks at Daisy, and then at their daughter, and he knows that, although love once divided him, it now unites them in a story worth telling, one of sacrifice, renewal, and the enduring power of family.